You at
Yeah.
some point, like in your life, you expect to be there, and maybe when you're older or something like that, or if you get like you got a diagnosis or something like that, and then you would realize like, okay, man, I got to fight for my life. But I've never experienced that.
Hmm.
But then I came up on this for the first time. Then it's like this is like really heavy. Like, oh my gosh! Like I've never put that much thought into the idea that my wife would do life without me, and what that means for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Mariah, like your brain just starts like once you're faced with a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, this is real.
Right.
It's not down the road sometime. This could be now. Like literally, I can never see my kids and my wife again.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like mine explodes, like not even knowing what to do with it. So I don't even know where I'm going ultimately with this conversation because I mean, I've talked to Jamark, but Jamark is our one of our other brothers, and he's dealt with people in senior living facilities for many years now, and so he's walked people through that process of people dying. And so I've heard him say over the years that you have to prepare for that diagnosis, you have to prepare for that this or that. And I've heard him, but I've never really had to make it a real thing with me until this situation happened. And then it's like, okay. So I would say, I would ask you that to start this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare for something like that? I mean, I know we grew up in church with all of the naming it, claiming it, and rebuking it, and all of that. But where do you sit on facing fear?
Yeah. Well, that is a tough question when you think about it. And sadly and fortunately, I had a chance to kind of stare mortality in the face. I don't even know if you know this, but just last week on the way to a soccer tournament, my daughter and I, 75 miles an hour on the freeway, were struck by another car.
No.
Um, and it was just me and her. And as I was merging over, this car was accelerating. I don't know if they were in a hurry or in a rush. But in that moment, I don't know, those of you that have been in accidents, the sound of metal and steel, uh, that sound itself is haunting me right now, even as I'm talking about it. And then, even in just a moment, the flashing, thinking about my wife, my other daughter, who's 8 years old. They were, 70 miles away. And by the grace of God, it was on the other side of the vehicle that we were struck. But be sitting directly behind me was the literal answer to prayer, my 11-year-old daughter, Brinley. And, just doing something normal, going to a soccer game, and how quickly it could be challenged or over. Um, but so grateful that the person that hit us was okay. My daughter, who's never been through an accident like that, obviously when we were able to get over to the side, the car I was able to pull over, and I immediately got out of the car to check on her, see how she was. Wearing her seatbelt, obviously very startled, um, but very sobering just to think in our day to day travel how just something like that could have ended totally differently. And so, how do you deal with fear? I don't think there's any magic formula or anything that can prepare you for, just even in that moment, you think of all the things that you wanted to do, things that you should have done, things you wish you would have did differently, um, to protect yourself, protect your family. It happens in just like a moment.
Yeah.
So I think the only preparation that I had was the gratitude in the moment.
Yeah.
Just the gratitude beforehand, just how precious life is, how fragile life is, And so just the instant gratitude in the moment when you realize, because not everybody has the same outcome,
Oh, yeah.
whether it's what you went through,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's what I went through, or so many people that have dealt with health issues and things like that. Kind of brings everything into perspective, and things that you felt like were important, all of a sudden you realize are not that important.
Yeah.
And so I just think gratitude is something that can help prepare you for tragedy, because a lot of times it's not if when something happens. It's when it happens,
Right.
something. And so I almost wouldn't be on this call with you right now, just
Oh
based
my
on
gosh.
being out in the middle of the major metropolitan going 75 miles an hour. This person was obviously going faster than me. And yeah, we were probably 100 feet away from where it split, where I could have went into something that could have caused even more damage, not only to the vehicle, but to myself and my daughter.
Oh my gosh,
So
man.
gratitude, it's like, it's a long answer. It's just like gratitude for what you have and where you're at and for every moment. Because
Yeah.
at any moment, and as you probably laid, in the hospital thinking like, man, all the things that you wanted to accomplish, wish you accomplished, planned to accomplish,
Yeah.
anything in the moment that you felt kind of helpless and that kind of at the mercy of circumstance.
Right. Exactly.
So
Ooh, man, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, I didn't tell a lot of people. Obviously because I'm still here.
Yeah.
But it's very concerning. Like, again, I don't like to sow seeds of fear in other people
Right.
thinking about those kind of things,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah.
We're kind of hope dealers. We're known for our positivity and
Mhm.
always being encouraging. And we had games that day and that weekend, and the minute that we got through that situation, I was like not thinking about soccer. I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about my daughter being whatever, a star on the team, and they needed that. None of that mattered.
Yeah.
Just grateful to have her. She's never been hugged.
Good.
She's never been hugged by me like that in her 11 years of life.
Oh
So
my gosh, man.
just like that.
How's your car? Like, is it done?
Well, so I have a big car, but the back and the whole side of it is completely crunched. So we'll be getting that fixed. But as I've heard so many people say, they're like, well, the car can be fixed.
Yeah.
You not being here or your daughter not being here can't. And so,
Or severely injured.
right.
There's so many possibilities and variables. And again, I'm not used to going into those type of hypotheticals.
Yeah.
But yeah, that within that gratitude, that's another level too. So wow, that is just out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that. That's another bout with fear. But say like just in other times of your life, like even because some people, fear comes in so many different shapes and sizes. It can be catastrophic things like that. It can be things that actually happened, but there's also the hypothetical,
right,
that just plays in people's heads. And that's one of the things that I struggled with my situation last month was the what ifs, not what is. And I let my mind go to the what ifs to where I could not appreciate, and I didn't choose gratitude for what was, which is I was recovering. But you can start down that road. It's just like, okay, any minute now, they're going to find something else, or something else is going to be wrong, or it's going to take a turn for the worse. And my oxygen levels are going to go the wrong way. All of those things that it never happened, but we can invest a lot of our time and energy there, and that's not good. And so that was I'll let you put me on the couch right now, because you are a person that coaches people. And so I'm going to let you help me right here. So what do you say about situations like that? Like, I am a preacher, father, husband, Christian, all of that stuff. And I preach that message that, God is good no matter what. But my question is, like, for me, that I'm grappling with is, why did it take me so long to get back to the man of faith,
Mm-hmm.
the preacher, the knows the scriptures, knows the stories in the Bible, like, for that to be displaced for so long. So I'm dealing with that. But what would you say to me or people like me in those situations?
I see too many people. I see too many people not give themselves empathy,
Mhm.
which is not just hearing how somebody feels, but understanding and embracing how somebody else feels. And we don't allow emotions and feelings to have a seat at the table.
Mhm.
And so we spend a lot of time pushing back the feelings and glossing over how we feel. Now there is the other end of it, which is eccentric and self-absorbed and
Yeah.
whatever. But for the most part, the world teaches and preaches mental toughness as a way to kind of minimize and minimalize people's emotions and their feelings. And so what happens is when you're in a relationship with somebody, and over time, if you're callous to how they feel, no matter what you say to them and tell them how much you care about them, they don't feel like you care
Right.
because they don't feel like you've heard them, you understand them, and then you embrace how they feel. And what's crazy is we do this to ourselves.
Wow.
And so sometimes our lack of empathy for ourself actually causes our own self to become callous to our own self.
Wow.
And so without properly scooting emotions and feelings up to the table and say, hey, let's grapple with this. Let's work through this. What are these triggers? Why do I feel this way? Why does that mean this?
Mhm.
Why does this trigger this emotional or feeling response? And you know, like I said, the world wants to preach that you have to be tough, you have to grit and bear it, you have to get up and keep going. But what I say is letting yourself off the hook by giving yourself empathy and taking the time, the appropriate time to allow yourself to feel, to process, and to um, reconfigure how you relate to those. Because that's the thing is like we were talking earlier, no matter what, stuff is going to happen.
Mhm.
And there's so many people that they've been taught to be cold and callous and lack empathy for themselves to just keep pressing, keep moving.
Mhm.
And I've even had to be careful of that of myself because you can actually portray something that's not realistic or reality.
Wow.
And so understanding how you feel, getting with professional help, getting the help that you need to cope with, to reconcile, to forgive, to heal,
Mhm.
continue to take steps because I'm very careful about saying moving forward because sometimes it's not time to move forward. Sometimes you gotta allow yourself to feel these things.
Yeah.
Because I always say a lot of people just keep kicking the problem further down the street. Just keep, but you're walking up on it and you're just gonna keep coming up on it until you actually allow yourself to feel it, to understand it, and to reuse that as rocket fuel to move forward
Yeah.
because the enemy of our enemy and whatever belief system you have knows that for the most part we have enough books, enough things, enough resources and tools and hobbies that we can busy ourselves and keep moving.
Mhm.
But he knows if he can stop you here, then he can shut down everything.
Yeah.
So when it starts here, then you start to see things that may not be as they are because
Right.
you're in your mind.
Mhm.
And then once you get there and you start to see things that are not there, then you're starting to feel things that are filtered through that lens of what you see based upon how you are being attacked mentally. It can shut down everything. The most powerful organ in your entire body is your brain.
Wow.
Your brain tells your heart to beat. Your brain is doing it subconsciously, regardless if we say, Jeremy, breathe.
Wow.
But you can actually have something that can help your heart continue to pump, but there's nothing for this. And so we don't spend enough time understanding what's going on here and how it's attached to our feelings and how we deal with fear and how we perceive things. It's such a huge study and a science to that. But I can just tell you from a practical standpoint, it's having empathy for yourself, because if you don't understand how you feel, or if you're not on the pursuit of understanding how you feel, it's going to shut your brain down, and your brain, your emotions, your feelings, and then everything follows suit.
Wow, dude.
And even the strongest people, myself being included, people would look at me and say, "Man, you're this huge Division I football player, mental toughness, blah blah blah, mental toughness, mental toughness." If I hear mental toughness one more time, I'm gonna flip out. Mental toughness, emotional intelligence, all those things, those are all great things or great studies, but we don't let ourselves off the hook. And that's not to excuse ourselves for complacency and just to stay there.
Right.
But we have to take time to properly address, accept, heal, learn how we feel. Get the table, bring the chair up, and allow feelings to have a seat at the table. Your feelings.
Right. Yeah, dude, man. That really helped me in the long run. I'm thank God now that I did take the time to really question, and like, I have a therapist. I'm not embarrassed to say I have a therapist. And so that the first session after that, I was like, okay, dude, what's going on here? Why in the world am I preaching this and then I did it this, you know? And so he told me similar things to you. It's like your brain just overloaded and it just shut down, you know? And so since then, I've really had to let myself off the hook to now, like I'm such a perfectionist. I'm such a person that wants to, you know, I was talking to Katie, my wife, for anyone listening, about this a few days ago. It's like, it started like really in high school, and Jeremy, you'll appreciate this. When I was in marching band and in band and all that stuff, our school, we were really competitive, and we won a lot. We had trophies and all that stuff. So we demanded perfection. We expected to win every time. Like, there was no, we're going through and hoping that we're gonna, like, we expected every year to be the best. And so that filtered into my everyday life as an adult. Like, I expected perfection. I expected to win. If we were going to win, that means everybody else had to lose. So I just had this mentality of perfection. And even as a drummer, I've done it all of my life. So I've boasted most of my life the fact that it's like, I know that I'm not the best drummer, but I know that whatever I am and what I can do, I can deliver that every time, 100% of the time. Not 98, not 75, not 85. Every time, consistency, perfection in what I've crafted to where I can draw upon that and deliver it every time. So I just have this mentality of perfection, of always sticking the landing, I preach. Not enough to just do the acrobats or do the exercise. If you don't stick the landing, doesn't matter. So those have served me well. But when it came to my own mental health and my own struggles and being weak or being hit and knocked down, I wanted to jump back up so fast because I don't want to be seen as weak. I'm strong. I can keep going. And that wasn't going to help me. I needed to slow down and I needed to let myself off the hook. And since then, I've let myself off the hook. Okay, I am not a heretic. I am not somebody that's not practicing when I preach. I just got dealt a hard blow. It was a lot to be thousands of miles away from my home by myself, trying to process, trying to get through this and all of that by myself, and then getting rushed to the emergency room, being in the back of the ambulance for the very first time, being in having the MRI, going through the thing that I see on TV, but it's me in that room by myself, in the hospital. It was a lot.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was just this preacher that doesn't believe what I preach. It's just a lot. And it knocked me down.
Mm-hmm.
But I've taken the time to dust myself off and rest and recover and let my body recover, let my mind recover. And now I can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not Superman, I'm not bulletproof, but, you know, so, but I know a lot of people are paralyzed and crippled by fear. And so that's why I just, with different people, just wanted to talk about it and see what their experiences are. And hopefully it will encourage people. So like you're saying, give yourself a break. Like some of these things come on you before you even, like I heard Michael Todd say that before, and he used the illustration. Uh, we know this family pretty well, but he told this illustration of him and Gabriel when they were kids, and they were fighting all the time. And then Brenda said, "All right, you're gonna fight. You're about to fight." And you can hear Brenda like, "All right, put on gloves. You're about to fight. You want to fight? Let's do it." And so they get all ready to fight and everything. And Michael's like, "My brother, he's bigger, but he's not as fast as me. And I have a license to whoop his whatever. Like it's about to happen." And then before he could think about it, he punched him really hard in the face, and it knocked like Michael down. And he was like, "There's no hit like the one you don't see coming."
That's right.
You know, you can be all prepared and think you're off whatever, but then some things hit you and you're not prepared for it.
No.
And then those are the ones that it takes a minute to recover from those.
Right.
You know, so you have to just allow yourself to be human. And yes, you want to be prepared as much as you can, but when those things do happen, give yourself a break. Do what you need to do to recover.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like it's not common to hear big Black dudes going and talking to therapists, but I don't even care, man.
Right.
I want to be whole.
That's right.
I want to be whole for my kids.
Right.
I thank God, like every day they don't know it, but I'm just sitting around staring at them because I'm here and I can. And I can watch them eat and I can watch them play. I can watch them laugh. I can watch them fight, you know? And so I'm just going to enjoy all of it, you know?